It was 10 years ago this week that millions of people across the world united to protest against military action in Iraq. While Tony Blair was warning of bloody consequences unless Saddam Hussein was confronted, many people questioned the British and US government's motives. The protest was the largest ever in history. In London, more than 1 million people are estimated to have taken to the streets. The novelist Ian McEwan was one of them. And later he set his novel Saturday during the events of that day. Well, I met up with him to see what he thought about the demonstration and the state of the country since then. I began by asking him about his memories of the march and whether he felt a sense of anger or frustration because despite this unprecedented protest, nothing had really changed.
I think government course was set. You say anger and frustration, but for those of us who are in and or around the march, what we remember is it was rather a celebration of English eccentricity. It was rather joyous, inappropriately so, I think. Historically, I think most people would agree that everything that was on the marchers' minds turned out to have been the case. I remember being both with it and I was with a notebook, so I had a sort of chip of ice in my heart, really. I'd already decided I was going to set a novel on this day. So I was writing down the placards and I was already trying to sort of form in my mind how to describe this.
It was source material.
It was source material, so I was there in bad faith in some respects. And I did have some qualms too. I mean, remember that 1 million people were marching to persuade governments not to topple a fascist dictator. So, you know, it wasn't quite a simple matter.
Do you have the same ambivalent feelings about Syria now? Obviously, we're not involved in a combat role there, may never be. But do you think that, you know, President Assad has to be removed?
I know, I feel great frustration that it's the Security Council. It's a sort of bureaucratic matter that the Russians and the Chinese are not on board or have their own separate interests or wish to somehow impede the West for their own agendas. And I do feel that a much greater humanitarian effort could be made, at least. So I feel very frustrated about that.
But remove President Assad? Is that
I don't
happen?
know. We're all now deeply. This is the legacy, I think, of Iraq. That sometimes there are things that you could do, which we no longer do because
you might have done that 10 years ago.
The darkness of that recent memory.
You voted Liberal Democrat at the last election. I think you were publicly on record as saying that you wanted them to keep the Tories in check. Have you got what you bargained for?
Well, I think I more or less have. It's not been happy. It's been painful to watch. The Rose Garden moment haunts us constantly. It's always being shown to us. No, I'd much rather politics would revert to some sort of left-right purity, if that was at all possible.
Well, you're a Labour supporter, so
my instinct would be that we are cutting too hard and fast and quickly. We should be going for more growth. We should be, I mean, my sense of things is really, I think, more or less what everyone on the streets is, that there are vast pockets of money to be raked back into the Treasury from very wealthy concerns that have largely been untouched.
Are you talking about individual bankers with their bonuses
I'm talking
or businesses?
No, I'm talking businesses, and something, I think it's striking the heart of most of us that there's a great inequity here.
Businesses would say they're playing by the rules, they're not doing anything illegal, and actually you talk about wanting growth back. Well, businesses, we can't kill the golden goose, can we?
Well, I think you have to change the rules. It's as simple as, well, it's as complicated as that. You know, most people are paying their 30-odd, 40, 45% on their earnings, and they want businesses to. And other businesses that are paying their taxes here feel that they're not on a level playing field with those companies that are pushing off to Luxembourg or wherever. You know, you don't have to be a political revolutionary to feel that vast sums of money are still held by elites and untouched. And I think the whole country's gone through a sort of crisis of various kinds of institutional failure. You know, now the NHS, but you know, newspapers, police forces, politicians and their expenses. I mean, it really has, these last 5 or 6 years have really sapped that sense. You think, well, Britain, okay, it's all got its problems, but it's fundamentally uncorrupt. That has really taken a knock, I think. We're very unsteady on our feet about who we are and what we are. It feels like one has a sense that so many of our institutions actually have got just a fair amount of decay.
You're one of Britain's most celebrated novelists. Would you say, I'm not going to let Amazon sell my novels? Would you stand up and be counted on this?
It's much easier to stop drinking in Starbucks than to put the finger up to Amazon.
They're just too powerful.
And Google too. I know there are other search engines, but these things, I mean, those two, Amazon and Google, have stitched themselves into our lives. It's very hard, actually.
And yes, you as a novelist and a reader can't do without Amazon. Even if I wasn't a novelist, I wouldn't be able to do... I now live in the country. Living in the country has been transformed by the fact that, you know, at 6 o'clock in the evening, you decide you want a book and it's there at breakfast. Ian McEwan, thank you very much.